So are you talking about things that freaking matter, or are you wasting time on things that don't?
Hmm.
Welcome to the Weaponized Marriage Podcast.
You just decided to intro it different today? I'm your host, Kendra Hewitt, and I'm your host, Ryan Hewitt. And today the topic is this. Go.
Well, let's preface first that we are doing this at a different time because we tried a new routine that a little bit backfired last week. And we recorded an episode, and halfway through the episode, I was just like, this is not landing for me.
Well, you didn't like it. You just totally.
I just did not think there was going to be value.
Shut down.
In it. I just it was a perfect example of, it was Lily's first week back at school and my first week trying to get my feet on the ground on, okay, my routine. And there was a lot of additional things thrown at me that I needed to handle. And on Thursday night at 8:30 after bedtime just was definitely not a good time for my ADHD, emotionally exhausted brain.
Yeah, so you should be painting by number instead. That's what you're saying.
I've actually so jokingly, I bought a paint by number, and I have not done that probably since I've been
5.
Yeah.
Who fucking paints by number as an adult?
This is the ironic thing, is that hey, you mocking my paint by number?
Yes. I mean,
Lily
seems fun, actually.
Lily really enjoys crafts, and I'm trying to cultivate that we do crafts together and we are creative rather than consuming and buying toys.
That's good. I like that. So, buying toys or consuming TV.
Yeah. And so she's been recently, which I am going to make a change to this. Recently, she's been doing chores. And then I've been saying, hey, if you do these little chores, then you get so much money and I'll save it. And at the end of the week, we'll go and I will allow you to pick something out. And it's also allowing me to teach her a little bit of more concept of what costs something. She'll pick up something and I'll be like, that's $20 and you have $10. So we can't do that. Which there's definitely she's 4, so she doesn't really get that part of it, but I'm still.
No, but I think we talked about, I like this idea, and this came from somebody else. This idea, they're like, we don't pay our kids to do chores. It's like a responsibility.
It's a necessary part of life, that's why I said I'm going to switch this.
It's part of life. It's something you need to learn to do to clean up after yourself and look after your things. But I do think teaching her, something that's important to me is that we teach her about money. Even as a young age, be like, okay, so you just, and reward her for creating rather than chores or consuming.
Yeah.
Like you said, hold on. And then from the money, see, she earned $10. Teach her how to save $2 out of the 10.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, so this is going to be for something really big later on that you're going to save up for. And then you can use the rest for whatever it is you want, now.
Yeah. So it just made me think about that. So last week, at her riding lesson, we've been doing that. And I was telling her that if she complains, on trying to figure out how I can explain this, that she can understand it. So I was like, hey, listen, if you don't want to do riding, which she really loves it, I picked a hard time because it was the first time she's having a riding lesson after school. So she's concentrated and been in structure all day. And then I'm taking her to also be in ask another 30 minutes of her time. And at the barn, you can't afford not to listen. Right. And so we talked on the way over that if this is not going to be a good time, that we're not going to do this while we're in school anymore. And she was like, no, I really like it. And I want to do it. And I was like, okay. And I said, and she's like, and I really want to sweep the barn after. And she was so fixated on sweeping and I didn't realize it. But last week she had swept the barn with me. She thought that was great.
She got a popsicle or something.
No, I gave her money.
Okay.
And so she was like, oh, okay, so she was so focused. She was more focused on sweeping the barn after than getting the pony ready. And I was like, listen, part of your lesson is you have to get your pony ready. Now, the caveat is that obviously I know how to get her pony ready, but I am being really strict that she helps me get her pony ready. It's not mom gets my pony ready for me at all. And she was just being really rough. Like I was like at my wit's end midweek, ready to call it. And I said, listen, you're going to get two choices right now. We're either going to have your lesson or we're going to go home. She's like, no, I really want to sweep the barn. So I was like, okay, then you need to listen because it needs to be safe first. Riding is fun, but we have to make it safe first. And she's like, okay. So, and turns out what she wanted to do was she wanted to get some money and then she wanted to buy some of the chicken eggs there because we like donate into a jar for the chicken eggs. She's like, I really want to buy some of those eggs for daddy. And I was like, that's awesome. And she's like, but do you think I would have enough for a toy?
I didn't see any chicken eggs.
Hold on. She's like, do you think I would have enough for a toy too?
Oh.
And I was like, well, like, no, you don't have enough for both. So
she picked the toy.
She picked the toy. And then I gave her that choice that way. So I was like, oh shit, now I got to stick to it. So, but anyways, on the way home, I said to her, why don't we, instead of getting a toy, why don't we get something we could do together? This is me trying to switch from like just consuming junk to like, that's going to end up in the trash next week. Or teaching her like, hey, we could buy something that we could do together since her love language is quality time right now. So I brought her to Michael's, and this is a really long way to get to the story, but
yeah,
comes back to she picked out the paint by number for me. She's like, oh, look at this. And I was like, oh, that would be great to do to teach her numbers. Right. But they didn't have, it was the one she picked up was an adult paint by number. Like it was more advanced. Like it's not for a little kid. And I was like, you know what? I'll get one and you get one. She's like, okay. So we brought it up to the cabin and like all of a sudden I was like, I want to start this. And then I was like, holy shit. Like, I feel like my brain turned off for like a half an hour right before bed by doing this paint by number. So even last night I asked Ryan, I was like, hey, instead of hanging out, can I do my paint by number?
Instead of hanging out with you, I'm going to paint
by number. You know what though? This morning when she woke up, she's like, Mommy, did you work on your paint by number? And I said, I did.
Well, that's because it was out on the counter.
And I showed it to her and she's like, oh, that looks really good. You made some progress, but you haven't finished this, and this. And I said, wow, like we can do, and instead of saying, let's like do more chores this week, I said, let's figure out ways you can earn some additional money. And then we can go to Michael's, when you have enough money to buy another craft. She's like, all right. So, but then I was thinking about what you were saying about like teaching her that chores are a necessary part of life. So not rewarding it with money, that so being more strategic about what those chores are. Like, for example, things that are actual necessary part of your day, like brush your teeth, like make your bed, put your clothes in the laundry hamper. Those things are necessities versus chores are like, hey, could you help me clean out your toys? And let's give some of the toys that we're not using to someone else that needs them next. And start to give her extra chores that do have a monetary compensation that also have a component of being charitable is what I'm going to really try to think about, and also get shit out of our house at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So anyways, long way for paint by number. But also at the cabin, I think this is what our topic's going to be today. One of the things that we deleted the episode last week is I felt very unprepared. Last week's episode, like I said, it was a new routine for us. It was a different time. And you and I had not really settled on what we were going to talk about. And I kind of left that, and you were, I know you were on the same page of the fact that what we needed to talk about would present itself. And it presented itself in a very unique way, I thought, when we were up at the cabin. So it was Saturday morning. So we, and I told Ryan that I had heard that Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's wife, was going to talk. And Ryan's like, "Where'd you see that?" And I was like, "I don't know. I think I just saw it like in my feed." And I had to be really sensitive last week to looking at social media with everything going on. 9/11, Charlie Kirk. I felt personally like 9/11 kind of really got very watered down, sadly. But obviously the Charlie Kirk thing was very emotional. Um, it was obviously very tragic. And um, I think that this is, no pun intended, a turning point in way beyond politics, way beyond like just for this country. And I've seen some articles since of just like the magnitude that this could have and already has had. Um, but I was really, and when I first shared with you that I heard that Erica Kirk was going to speak, I was like, "Can we see if we can find it?" And what was your response? You said first when I told you that.
I don't know.
You were like, "Really? She's going to speak?" I mean, it hasn't even been like
A day, yeah.
a day, a couple days. And I was like, yeah, keep going. So what did you
Well, no, I mean, I don't know where you're going with this, but so yeah, so the next morning, I turned on Instagram and it was the first thing on there. So we listened to most of it.
Mhm.
It was long actually. Yeah, it was hard to listen to only because of just the sensitivity of the situation. Just like, yeah, I was amazed that she was able to do that. First of all, I mean, you have experience of speaking at your dad's eulogy when you were younger.
Yeah.
I imagine you probably could like imagine how you felt more than me because I haven't had anything quite so tragic and have to speak after the fact, but I just like I can't even imagine how she's able to do that and what was I don't know. I just the strength she had to pull together to do that. And the saddest part was like I imagine there was a lot of people in awe of it, and then there was also a lot of people that I'm sure criticized and tore it down and whatnot, which is sick. But
That's gonna happen no matter
yeah,
what,
it's
sadly, but
crazy. But yeah, I mean, we listened to it, and I think there was a part in what she was speaking about, and I was just like, "Wow, this woman is." I mean, in the amount of grief that she's experiencing, and just thinking about like what she has to tell her kids and everything, but how she was speaking about him and like his influence and his mission, and how
mm,
I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, I can't believe how like obviously the vision and the mission that they had together um was much bigger than I guess the significance of their marriage or even like their family, like what I'm saying, like it was it's hard for me to explain this, but it was clear that she believed so much in his vision and his mission that she was like speaking about it and encouraging the continuation of it and talking about how it's going to be stronger than ever and everything. And I was like, that was the most impressive thing to me. And then Ken was like, "Oh, thank God, that's what we're going to talk about." I was
yeah,
like, "Well, what
I
do you?"
got it
I was
like
like, "Well, what do you
so,
mean?"
well, there was okay, keep going. I don't wanna interrupt your flow.
You did, but
Um, okay, well, the first thing is that, I am definitely gonna cry on this, so I'm just gonna think about how I can hit these points. Um, First point she made. I think it kinda comes to that saying, "Behind every great man, there is a great, like, partner." And that this woman was so composed, and I think the thing that really, hit me first is that I didn't realize this, but she was actually in his podcast studio.
Mhm.
So she was standing next to the chair he would be sitting in when he recorded his podcast. And just the magnitude of that choice was because at first, when they showed the video, she was just at a podium,
Yeah.
and then when they panned out, you could see she was in it. Um, and it was so wild because it was like this. You could feel the significance of his presence even through that video.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is what we're going to talk about. When she was very passionate. Here's what stood out when I said that part. Here's what we're going to talk about. Not only did she understand his mission, she understood what it entailed for her to be that role of support for his mission. And also the leader, in their marriage. And you could hear that in that conversation. And then when she said, if you think she said something along about like a battle cry, like, you think that taking my husband away physically would make me turn on our mission, then you have no idea what you've just started. And I think that part is the part of the mama bear in me that was just like, yeah. And then this is the part that is probably gonna make me cry. Obviously, Christian, conservative, and for her to already be at a place where her faith is strong enough that she could admit that there is a plan and a purpose behind his death was not only a testimony of such faith to God and his plan, but I was like, that's how I want to be that faithful and trust that much in his plan, even when his way of doing it is probably not anybody's desire on how that plan would unfold. But then to see her transition to like how this is, like I said, the way that I heard it was, this is another shot heard around the world in ways we will probably never know. But it was such an example of like her trusting in God's providence, that like even when his hand does not feel like it's there, she does trust that it is. His presence is there. And then I thought about this too, that like how she thanked like all the people that work for Turning Point. And about how like, I mean, this man is clearly a leader, probably would have been a presidential candidate or was being groomed to be one.
I think that he had said that he wasn't interested in politics, though. So here's the thing is like, neither you or I actually, I think, spent a lot of time consuming Turning Point content. Like I knew who he was and I saw some of it.
Yeah.
I had no idea what his wife looked like. I think she actually has either a company or a nonprofit of her own. Like she has her own sort of mission, but I'm sure that both of their vision and missions aligned.
Yeah. And that's what stood out to me is like,
just wanting to believe, having a vision and a mission that's bigger than yourselves is what I was trying to say. Like bigger than your marriage, bigger than like your union, and just to have that impact that could be something that impacts many, many, many people, right? Like how many people mourned his death? Like I'm going to say, well, it's worldwide.
Yeah.
Millions.
Yeah.
To have that influence. And I don't know if I desire to have like that magnitude of influence. I mean, I definitely want to be able to be useful and to be able to share things that change lives. And I just like, I want our lives and our mission to matter like that.
Yeah.
I think that's what I felt.
And I think that's also too what came up for me is when I said this is our talk, is like how I heard it in my head at first was, do you support your man's mission? And here's what might be the real, like, cold, hard truth. And do you have a mission of your own? And your mission might be, I want to raise my child like as natural as possible, or it might be to be the best adult they can be, the best person they can be, or whatever. Like I'm not talking about work mission, but it made me really think about like even our businesses is like, if something happened to Ryan, what would I do? Do I know what to do? Is that a conversation we've had? Yes. Do I know where everything is? Yes.
Do I? No.
And that's the thing.
I mean,
thought, and I'm
for the
talking,
most part.
I'm talking about logistics, but do I know what your mission is?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I had to speak about you like she had to do,
Mm-hmm.
could I tell the world what you really stood for?
Mm.
And that's where I thought this was the topic for our marriage podcast, is like, do you understand your spouse's mission? And now, but here's what's going to bring this up. What's going to bring this up? The dark side of it. Your spouse might not have a mission that's clear.
Right.
You might not have a mission that's clear.
Mm-hmm.
I know that came up for me as like, I know what?
And I think that's probably very common.
Yeah. And it's like, so I said, that's our topic.
I think it's hard to figure out.
How do you support your partner's mission? How do you support them if they are wavering in what their mission is or are seeking what their mission is? And then how do you do that for yourself?
Mm.
And then finally, in closing, back on my side of it, is that this part's going to definitely get me. You know, his kids are really young, and I knew that. And again, how we talked about at the beginning with just like Lily with chores. What's the mission for your family? Like, what are the things that are really friggin' important to you? Do you guys have those conversations? Like, just like Ryan was saying, is like, hey, I don't want her being rewarded for chores that she needs to do anyways. And I never thought about that. But then he talked to me about it, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And like I said, if something was to happen to me tomorrow, it's like, would you know what was really important in the care of my daughter, of our daughter? Mm-hmm. And those are the conversations that need to be had in your marriage. Mm-hmm. Not like you didn't fucking take out the trash and you were supposed to. Just really being so conscious and aware of that. None of us know when our time's up. So are you talking about things that freaking matter, or are you wasting time on things that don't? Mm. And that's what I got out of that video. Mm-hmm. Just that reminder. And she talked about how she had to explain to her 3-year-old. She keeps asking, where's daddy? And she said, what did she say? Do you remember?
He's on a work trip with God.
He's on a work trip with Jesus. Mm. Is what she said. Mm. Because at 3 years old,
yeah, you can't
comprehend. You can't understand. And then her other, I think her son's like 1, like even younger than that, maybe. But
yeah.
So, obviously being appropriate with like, that communication to your kids would be a really hard thing to do. But it's like, start with your significant other. Start in your marriage. Hey, what's the thing that's really, what do you think your mission is?
Well, I think you could just start by asking each other, like, well, what do you want to see happen in our lives, like 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years from now? Mm-hmm. Like 3, 5, and 10 year. They don't have to be goals. It could just be like, how do you visualize our family in 3, 5, and 10 years? And like, what are we doing? What's our quality of life? Like, mm-hmm. what is our like our mission as far as like, what are we about? Like if we had a battle cry, what would it be? Like, what's the thing that is important to us? Because there's a difference between purpose and mission, right? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, could I articulate and explain perfectly what that is? Not really. It's difficult, but mission is sort of like like what you would put underneath your logo on your business. It's like, we do this because, right? Mm-hmm. And then your purpose is sort of like your reason,
your rudder. It's your rudder.
Your reason for being here. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody would do well by thinking about their own personal purpose and mission, but then also, collectively, mm-hmm. If you're married, what would that be you and your spouse together. I know, like, you and I talk about what do we want our lives to look like and what do we want to do? You know, who do we want to impact, and what does that look like? You know, I do enjoy those conversations. I like when we talk about those
Mhm.
things, and I think it's important to connect and talk about those things because it makes what you're doing in the mundane more tolerable and, I guess, more meaningful. It's very easy to get through a hard day when you know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, then it's just like
You're rudderless.
you're groundhog daying it. Yes.
Yeah, that's why I say purpose is like the rudder, like it's
Mhm.
the thing that's
The
going to
North
keep you.
Star.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't have things you're working towards, then it's just going to seem like every day is a grind, and
Yeah.
that's where burnout or boredom comes into play.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I think there's, like I said, 3 parts is like, what's your mission? What's the mission for your marriage? Um, Meaning, like, what do you want? Like, if, and this is, like I said, sad to think about it, but if one of us was gone tomorrow and we had to do that eulogy, just like she had to do, like, what would you want that person to stand up and say about you?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Would you be proud of it?
yeah, does your message match your mission? Does the message that they would deliver match the mission of the person that's no longer here? And, like, if you just sit with that,
Yeah.
it
It's
it can
rough.
give you a lot of input and awareness, right? And then w I think the second part of the question is, like, what's your significant other's mission, right? Could you confidently explain what their mission is? Um, and then there's
And
the
if you've never thought about it, then here's your chance.
yeah,
Maybe this is the first time ever you've thought about, like, well,
what do I stand for?
what do I stand for? And, what do I want? What do I want? What do we want our lives to, what do I want our lives to look like in 10
Yeah.
years? And does that look like what you want it to look like in 10
Yeah,
years?
and what do we wanna create versus, like
Well, I think that's the operative word. That's the main word,
yeah,
is create.
yeah, and I think it goes beyond, like, just like you said, which there's part of it, there's, like, the goals and, like, "Hey, I wanna have this," but then, like, talking about, like, core values and, like, things that are really important, and one of the things I thought about today is, I was just thinking about how last week being the first week of school is that, like, I gave Lily even a choice of, like, you can do dance or you can do gymnastics, you can't do both. And I was like, I don't want her to learn that she is scheduled every freaking part of the day at 4 years old. It's already like, I
Not,
mean,
not right now. Yeah.
yeah.
It's going to
And
happen.
then I like even made the mistake this morning, but I was like, I guess it wasn't really a mistake. I looked at Facebook and like I saw this mom that I know with her 4-year-old, and she's doing cheerleading, and then this one was at 5 soccer games, and then this one was at field hockey, and this one is like and I'm like, "Oh, man." I started looking at all these pictures and being like, "Holy shit, maybe I should really get Lily in some other sport," like, so she's playing a team sport.
Yeah.
And, like but then I said to herself, like, "What would I choose for my weekend?" Yesterday, like, on my walk to school with her, which we walk in the morning with her, I said, "What was your favorite part of the weekend?" "Definitely swimming in the lake with
Swimming in the
you."
lake with you. She told me that last
Yeah,
night.
and I was like, "Mine too, that was mine too," and it made me think about I was like, "So I could be carting her around to soccer field being so agitated by the fact that I'm doing that, spending my weekend like that, but she'd be playing a team sport."
Is there any, like, just weekday only
Yeah.
teams?
Well, now I found one, right?
Did you?
Well, the after school program, right?
Oh, right.
And I said, or I could be like making these memories out in nature, which is part of my core values and your core values, right? This is part of our mission for our family
Yeah.
is
So you're
spend
talking.
out time outside in nature.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a time and place for team sports, but at the same time is like I come back to my rudder. What's more important to me? Time at the cabin where she's playing with other kids and she's outside and she's putting worms on hooks and, like being in nature.
Yes, you're talking about creating. So that's the most important thing is, like, when it comes to, like, fulfillment and happiness and mission and vision and everything, it's all about creation. Like, it doesn't have to be, I'm going to create a world changing organization. Like, that's not going to happen for everybody, nor is it everybody's desire. But it could be something like, I'm going to create memories for my family that last a lifetime. And it includes spending time at the cabin on the weekends in the summer. Like, we've created this home here. Like, you've created like most of what that decor and that home's going to look like. And like, I know that's really important to you. And that's part of your mission. You know what I mean? It's all about creating a space, right? It could be you create a nonprofit. It could be you create a business. You could create anything. I mean, whatever it is that aligns with who you are and like your mission. But that's the most important thing, is it's something that you start from nothing. You create it, rather than the opposite side of that is just consuming, like you're talking about. Like, I think sports are great, and I think keeping your kid engaged and doing things, but like, if all of your time and focus and energy is focused on consumption, which is like consuming TV, consuming like toys and just activities and things that they're never going to like remember as a core memory,
Nope.
or that just don't really matter that much. Right. So, and those are the important conversations that come down to like, what do you want to create? What do you want to create in our lives and have it manifest in 3, 5, 10 years, things like that.
Yeah. And then I think that's what, like, from watching that video, that's what I wanted us to talk about today, is like creating your identifying your mission and creating what? Just your future.
Create your destiny. So let's wrap it up there.
Yeah.
So that's our take home message, is that what's the life that you are creating together, and does it align? And do you have conversations about it?
Or do you need to do some resets? Like, do you need to have to kind of check some things that have got out of alignment?
Well, I'm sure that'll come about when you start having those conversations. So thank you for listening, everybody. We appreciate, everybody that listens and encourages us to continue this podcast. We do encourage you to share it with other people. So please share and rate, review, and we will, as always, see you guys next week.